Hey guys, it's Skybird here, and today we're going to be doing a breakdown build, so a build tutorial for my Nokama the Sage build. I really like this build. I came up with it quite a while ago, along with all of my other Gen 2 Turaga, and since we didn't get any Turaga in Generation 2, I wanted to make sure I represented the characters while making them fresh and new. So the mask that I would be using in the future is actually this mask by Red Star Games. However, unfortunately, I don't have access to the mask currently, so we're just going to be using the regular Galley Master of Water mask that you can see here. That said, the Galley Uniter mask also looks really good for this purpose. So let's get right on into it. The first thing we're going to go ahead and do is actually grab our torso here, which is just a small torso. I wanted to mention we have around 67, 68-ish pieces here. Some of these pieces are not completely necessary, but they're more to give flavor to the character themselves. So now what we want to do is we actually want to grab our bone pieces, these silver bone pieces that actually came out with several of the Skull Villain sets way back in 2015. And we're also going to grab these short length bones here. These are where our legs are going to connect. And then next up, we are going to go with the trans clear joints. All of these bones are the exact same, so we don't have to worry about mixing them up, but they've all got a ball joint in the center here. So just go ahead and snap those. Listen to that satisfying click. Next up, we are going to go ahead and attach our feet and our hands. Silver feet are available, black hands are available, but I really like this combination best. I think it plays well with the color blocking for the character. So I've opted to do black feet with the silver arms. And I think there's not a ton of silver in the set in general. So I think this really helps to balance it out. So let's go ahead and attach our fists here and then move on to the next part, which should be the head. So that's pretty self-explanatory, directly attaches to the torso, so a little different from Matao since the neck does not sit forward. Now we're going to take all four of our standard blue shell pieces, and every one of them is going to point up toward the middle joint. So the elbow here, the knee here. It doesn't really make a huge difference if you mix them up. If you like the aesthetic better a different way, you can mix it up, but I kind of like those really broad wrists and broad ankles. Since Nokama has really long arms in Gen 1, I think it really helps to support the length of her arms here without making them look ridiculous. That said, moving forward, we're just going to attach our standard dark azure shell piece to the center of the torso here. All of these are 5-length shells, so there are no other sizes here, so nothing too much to worry about. And then our armor, which is going to attach as normal, both pins going into both of the holes at the base. Next up, we're going to go ahead and attach our brain head stock, eye stock, whatever you want to call it. I use the red axle here, but you can use black as well. I just keep the two black ones separate because those go into the weapon. So next we're going to go with the mask. I'm actually going to leave that aside for now because I could knock it off during the video, which could make things a little annoying. And this one's a little bit interesting. So this is actually a window pane piece. And since I kind of treat this character as sort of like a sage, a scribe or something, she wears the Mask of Translation in Gen 1. I thought this was a good nod to her character. So maybe she is someone who documents the events on the island. The way this goes in is pretty simple. You just push down on the bottom of this and it slides right in here behind the shell, and it's just going to stick out a little bit, and that's good because it gives us a little bit of visual cue that that is actually there, which I quite like. Next up, we're going to go onto the back side here, and we're actually going to attach this piece right to the middle two pinholes. So those two pinholes here is going to come in handy here in just a few moments. So now we're going to build a little assembly that's all going to go together. So let me go ahead and skip forward just a little bit, but let me go ahead and attach the stud pin here, or stud axle here, and I like to leave the little mold mark facing the same direction as this because that's going to face backwards later, so you won't see that mold mark from the front. Next, just going to take this T-shaped lift arm here, and we're going to attach a black bushing, or any bushing color you really want. I have access to black ones. Lego does make those, and thankfully they've started making them more common again, so very thankful for that. If only they'd do the same thing for black friction pins, I'd be a very happy man. That said, now we're going to attach these Lego system pieces that actually have a bar on it, and we're going to angle those about 45-ish degrees, but we can play with the angle of them later. It's not a big deal right now if they're exact, but something along the lines of this. This is actually going to attach our robe later. So it can be a little bit finicky to align, but you know, again, the more effort you put in now, the better it's going to turn out, I think. So we're going to go ahead and attach it to the bottom 2 pinholes here. And I'll attach those here in just a moment, but just like that. And now let's go ahead and attach our clips from our Exoforce hands. Probably is better to do this before attaching it to the body, just because you could very easily dislodge these pieces. But as long as you push back on it a little bit, shouldn't have any major issues. And then I believe, yep, that is just going to go right on the back there. So pretty simple. Next up, we're going to take 2 of our Exoforce clip hand pieces, and we're going to attach those right into the holes in these arms. They're actually being used for what they were designed for, Exoforce arms and Exoforce hands. Always fun to see those pieces. So now we are going to go ahead and start attaching our robe, which we are just using these weapon, or what are these, wing pieces that came out with like Chima sets and stuff. I absolutely adore the color here. And again, although it feels like this Exoforce clip here might be broken. So I think we're going to leave that one off to the side and use the other one for now. So, but either way, absolutely love the aesthetic, the color of these pieces, and it works super well for Nokama here. That said, if you wanted to change her color scheme up a little bit, I totally just ripped that off there. So you see what I said about things being a little bit finicky. It's just because we're using a direct stud connection here. So I think what I'll go ahead and do is I'll actually attach the wings onto these now, so I don't run into any issues with it disconnecting. And we don't have to worry about the direction they're facing or the angle they're facing yet, because we're going to adjust that once we attach it to the character. So again, back into those center 2 pinholes, we want to leave that bottom pinhole open because we're going to use it here in a few minutes. But let's go ahead and just drape this right over the character. And it's not perfectly aligned right now. Also, these are supposed to go inward so that they actually touch the armor piece itself. But that's the thing that's a little bit finicky, is just adjusting these so that they kind of line up with that torso well. But I think we did a reasonable enough job for the sake of the video. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part, which is just capping those pieces off. These are just a couple of hollow studs. This also helps to keep these pieces from getting pushed out or misaligning later, but it also just looks nice. You can change these to whatever color you want. Gold is a good option. Other shades, of course, are good there as well. And moving down, we're going to go ahead and take our one and only stud pin here, which we are using blue, and our T-shaped pneumatic bar piece. And then we're going to clip these 2 claw pieces in place. And this claw is actually broken too, so that's very exciting. Not exciting though, really. Both of these claws, in fact, have a little crack mark right on the tip there, which is really annoying. I'm not a big fan of Lego's more modern clip pieces, at least in the last, like, I don't know, a couple of years or so, have been quite fragile. But what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to try, if I can do this without breaking these pieces further, to actually push these up behind the fan piece here and get this pin into the base. It might actually be easier to put the clip pieces on after so that we don't have any issues with breaking it. But yeah, let's just go ahead and clip this in now. All right, so it's in, it clicks in just like that. And then we can attach these clips to it from there. We just want to make sure that they're behind the fan. And these are just decorative. They don't really serve any purpose, but they do fill in a little bit of area on the back here. And they also have a nice color to them, again, bringing in more of that trans light blue. So no big deal there. Go ahead and make sure that we get that attached in here. And again, not super important if we include them or not, although I did just misalign that one. So you can see kind of what I mean about it being a little bit particular. It's been a while since I've actually disassembled these guys, so I'm having a little bit of trouble with it as well because of that. Oh, I almost dropped it twice. So I could leave this off for the sake of the video, but now I'm determined. If that doesn't say anything about me, I don't know what does. All right, now it's in there, and our fan can still spin freely. So now that that is all in place, what we want to go ahead and do is move forward to our next step here, which is actually going to be attaching this clip into the axle hole that is back here. Now, I'm not going to do this just because this clip is broken, so it might just break, but essentially this is just to hold the magnifying glass on the back here. I'm going to go ahead and set those aside for the sake of the video because those pieces decided to break on me. No big deal. It happens. Clips are notoriously fragile. And we're going to move forward to our hand here. And this is where we're actually going to take one of my favorite pieces, the screwdriver, and just push it down into the hand. We don't need to push it down all the way yet, but this is really nice because it can actually go quite far down into the hand, and it essentially gives us a bar that you can't see from the other side. So we're going to go ahead and attach a hollow stud. In this case, I'm using gold and one of these gold tile pieces with the little bar at the top, little inkwell pieces, and that's exactly what this is going to represent. And then you just push down there till you hear click. The feather piece can go on top, and this is basically her inkwell, her pen and ink, whatever. So moving on, we are going to go ahead and build her trident. First things first, we're going to take this 8 long axle here, just attach it to the base of the arm. Then we've got this 4 long axle, and we are going to do a little assembly here. So we're taking this piece and we're attaching the 4 long axle to the base and 2 long axle to the side here, and then one of these. Next, we're going to go ahead and attach another axle. This is why I keep these both black, because you're going to see these axles in the final product. And move forward by attaching this piece here. Thankfully, these come in black now, but the one I am using is actually a bootleg one from before we had these in this color. So it took Lego long enough to actually make them. And now we are going to just cap that off. Pretty simple, just like that. Next up, we're just going to take these noodle pieces and put them on the 2 sides facing upward, up in that direction. And we're going to go ahead and put our red axles in here. These could also be black as well, but again, I just want to make it visually clear for you where these pieces are going. Attach our angle 4 connectors here and our angle 2 connector in the center there, just like that. And then we are just going to attach our 3 swords to the very end. These are trans light blue as well, so again, matching the transparent color in the body, but they are available in trans dark blue as well if you like that color instead. You can absolutely use it. You just won't have the support with all of the Gen 2 bone pieces. But go ahead and pop that on her, and that's it. That is our Nokama built finished. So what I like to do normally is I'll usually angle these wings forward a little bit so they kind of taper along the body on both sides. And then I usually like to kind of align it so that this tip of this wing here essentially rides the top of this armor piece. That just gives you a really nice aesthetic look, aesthetic quality to it. I don't know how else to describe it, but that is otherwise it. That is the build complete. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, of course, make sure to like and subscribe because it does help the channel out a lot. And of course, as always, my links for my Discord and Instagram are in the description below, along with my Patreon if you want to check that out. And there's, I guess, a better look at her. So that's pretty much it. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.